Okay, hello, hi, Asis. Thank you so much for your time. How are you doing?
Thank you, Meta. Nice to see you again. I'm doing good.
Yeah, cool. So you have a really interesting background. I mean, you have maths and art and design and data science, and now you're an entrepreneur. So I'm curious to know, how do you describe yourself?
I would say that I'm an artist. I consider myself an artist. I guess I'm an artist pretending to be a founder these days. But
Okay, wow, that's
yeah,
interesting. Yeah, I mean, a maker basically. It comes down to that, right?
exactly. Yeah,
Creator.
I like
Maker.
doing things. I like making things. Yeah.
Okay, I love that. So, I mean, of course, I've looked at your background, but I would love to hear a bit about your journey in your own words, more than anything, because I've really never seen such a diverse journey. So, I'm curious.
I mean, it's a very long journey. It's definitely something particularly specific that you'd like to hear about.
Yeah, I feel like for a lot of people, of course, people try a lot of different things, but I mean, I think it's you have the creative and the super analytical at the same time. And I mean, you've also been a PM, you've been a people manager, I guess, data scientist. So I'm curious as to how these things connect, or rather, what was your motivation while you were going through these steps?
I mean, as many things in life, I think accidents and luck play a very big role, right? So I think I'm pretty sure everyone can kind of relate to that. Even success, I would say, is very tied to luck most of the times. Of course, you have to also do things, no? But luck is a very important ingredient in one's life. Starting with where you're being born is already quite can change your life in many ways, right? I personally always had a drive for creativity, but I was also very attracted to sciences. I studied maths because I liked maths,
Mm-hmm.
and you didn't have to memorize things. I was always really bad at memorizing, so it was kind of my way out to avoiding having a degree that like needed a lot of memorizing. I was not particularly good at them. I mean, I love math, but I'm not one of those math genius. There was some people in my class that definitely had the mathematical language, right? They really had some sort of like intuition on how to do maths. But I was always kind of struggling between these two worlds. We live in a society also where people are kind of expecting you to be very good at one thing. And
Mm-hmm.
this was when I was in my early 20s or in my late teens, I guess. This was a big struggle because everyone was like, oh, you have to specialize on something. But that really didn't resonate with me. I kind of discovered a little bit about multidisciplinarity, and that was like, oh yeah, this is me, I'm interested in many things, but I don't really want to be specifically good in any of those. But it was definitely some hard years, kind of going through life, doing these different things and moving on to new interests and not becoming really good at something. Now, as a founder, it really pays back, I have to say. I think having this kind of like many hats definitely is a super cool talent when you're a founder. Because I mean, I've done some design, I know programming, I can speak with very different types of people. So I can kind of bond with people that have different backgrounds as well, because I have this technical but also my product background. So definitely pays off as a founder. So if you do plan to start something, definitely having done many different things, it's something that would help you in your journey. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely see the connection. But when you were doing those many things, did you think one day you're gonna be a founder?
No, definitely not. I mean, I ended up being a founder because of my co-founder. He was the one who was kind of pushing me and eventually convinced me to do it. He's amazing. We do an amazing team. We work together at Commerzbank, our previous job. That's kind of where we met. And I would have never really considered myself as starting something up if it wasn't because of him. And also because we're trying to solve a problem that we've experienced firsthand, right? So there is a motivation there that is like, we've been frustrated with the data tools and how it's hard for, particularly for non-technical stakeholders to kind of use analytics.
Mhm.
So we're trying to kind of solve these problems that we've experienced. And there's something really nice about that. Maybe that's another second kind of piece of advice, if I may, that is really cool to solve problems as a founder that you've experienced in your career, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, then you also know that there is an actual need for this because you've been there, you've done that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your interesting background and the many hats, but that makes sense to me. But I'm curious to know, like when you were transitioning from, I mean, I guess data science and having a job to being an entrepreneur, were there any unexpected skills that you thought ended up being really valuable?
Yeah, that's always a hard question. Hmm.
I can flip the question also. I could also ask you, was there a skill you wish you had?
I wish I had done sales earlier on. I've never done sales in my life, and as a founder, this is one of you. I mean, we're two, but if you're more, definitely one of however many founders there are, has to do sales. Founder-led sales is super important. I wish I had had some experience with this before. That would have definitely saved a lot of time and learning. I mean, I was lucky enough to get a mentor quite early on that started teaching me, but in the end, you only learn by doing, right? So
Yeah.
maybe also reading earlier about sales, but validating your kind of willingness to pay, even ideally before you build anything, is kind of the best way to go, right? So that's definitely something I wish I had known, or somebody had kind of maybe told me or pushed me even more, because people tell you a lot of things, right? But in the end, you don't always listen.
Yeah. So, I mean, so when you were starting out, what was, I would say, so aside from the sales, what were the other challenges that you faced?
I mean, we both faced a lot of challenges. Prioritization is definitely a very, very, very important thing. What do we want to start with, especially when you don't have users, right? Then how can you maybe get some feedback? That's kind of how we met, right?
Yeah,
Doing
exactly.
some basically usability testing on Figma design prototypes. It's
Yeah.
already helpful, no? And yeah, speaking with more people, engaging with communities is for sure good, but in the end, until you have real users using your product, you're just kind of like blind guessing. So I don't know, kind of trying to speed things up until that moment helps a lot. It doesn't really matter who you are, and fine tuning really finding even if it's a very small subset of potential users can already be very helpful. But I mean, it's really easy for me now to look back and see all of this, no? But when you're there, it's just, there's so much stuff you have to do, and you get very overwhelmed, and you have to be very wise about prioritizing in that sense.
Yeah, and I mean, prioritization sort of brings me to the next thing that I want to ask. And, generally, I think this is not a secret. Everybody knows that the job tech landscape is awful right now, really, for anyone in any field. There is, of course, a lot of talk of building your own products, AI. I will come to that in a bit. And more than anything, making your own opportunity. So, and people have a lot of ideas. People, like you said, have problems that they know that they can fix. So, would you advise someone to quit their job and jump in, or do you think it makes sense for people to work on their passion project on their side?
I mean, I think that if you can work on the side, it's always a safer place to be. It also depends on your kind of family constellation, right? If you have responsibilities, then obviously it's going to be harder for you. We're lucky that we don't have a family, at least for now. So we can take we can take some risks that many people can't, right? So I mean, I also know some founders that do have a family, and I really admire them because it could really get very precarious if you, especially in the very early stages, right? So it's definitely challenging. It also depends on what country you're living. Some countries have more support. Other ones you only need to find. There's only like private capital that you need to find. And this also comes with its consequences, right? If you depend on investors to fund your company, then you're giving some power away. Of course, there are many different types of investors. We always try to find people that we resonate with and we agree with in the way of how we want to run the company and the company culture. But this is a privilege question as well, right? So I would definitely suggest to try to experiment as much as possible and push it as much as possible on the side if you can, and then make the leap once you see that you're getting some traction. I mean, ideally, the closer you get to product market fit, then the easier it's going to do everything else. Find more clients, build a use case or a case study, which is kind of already helps a lot to sell, and even find kind of like private investment if you're looking for that.
Okay, okay. And then now a follow-up question to what you just said. So how easy or difficult was it to do, was it to start this in Germany? And was that a conscious decision, or is it that you live here, so you thought, well, why not?
Yeah, we live here, so we didn't really have any other option. It was surprisingly complicated to get a bank account.
I'm actually not surprised.
It's crazy. It's really. I mean, I hope that things have just improved by then. Probably haven't, but just to know, to not give things too negative. Yeah, starting up a company in Germany is definitely not the most fast way of starting up a company. But it works. It took us, I'm not really sure, since application. You also shouldn't start straight like super early on, because there's a lot of kind of public programs in Germany that once they always look at when you started a company, and I think if you're 6 months or older, then you're not considered kind of like early enough. So you also need to kind of be wise about when you actually want to incorporate as a company, because you might miss out on some opportunities on public funding or other kind of programs.
Okay, so I guess having an idea is not enough. Like you need to have the idea, you need to have the passion, but I think at the same time you need to just start focusing on the logistics and the paperwork and everything almost immediately.
I would wait for that. First, I think is try to validate the willingness to pay. Maybe try to build as much as possible and get as much traction as possible. And then once you are actually going to send your first invoices, then you can you can fund.
Okay, okay, cool, awesome. And now I'm going to ask you the question that you've probably been asked 100 times. So how has AI impacted your work now?
I mean, we use it a lot for kind of creating content and some ideation processes. We've used it with some Python code, but we're building on Ruby on Rails, and the ones that we've tried are terrible, so bad with like code on Ruby on Rails. I mean, if anyone has some really good suggestion, please share. I would love to get some support with that. So technically not so useful, apart from some Python support with some relatively simple stuff that has been useful. Content wise and ideation wise has been quite interesting to kind of jump some ideas and to kind of help us fine tune some blog posts or some kind of like content that we're generating. But yeah, so that's kind of it. I mean, we do obviously have some ideas of integrating with AI, but I mean, we're focusing now on the quality of data. And I think first you need high quality data to then kind of truly leverage AI, right? So that's for us kind of later. And we're also kind of looking at what the open source community is doing. So we also don't want to develop something that the open source community is already kind of doing that we can just latch onto, right?
Yeah, okay. And then I think especially this is a really, I really like this term. It sounds really cool. But what is your opinion on vibe coding? Because that's like a whole hot thing right now. And I guess people are building, or at least trying to build products really quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I personally played a little bit with it. I think it really depends what you want to do, right? There are a lot of memes of
Yeah.
the pros and the cons. I mean, especially my co-founder Philip is a bit more skeptical on it. I think it's really early. If you're building a complex product, then you're going to, maybe one person can do what 50 engineers can, but what was it? But then you're going to have to deal with 50 engineers' bad code practices, right? So the long term, I think it can be really bad, but definitely for prototyping and testing, I think it's amazing. So when I speak with people, it's mainly solo entrepreneurs that are playing around with vibe coding to kind of test their ideas. I don't know of anyone that is really. I'm not super into following the community, right? But I don't really know of any kind of like big product that has been developed solely on that.
I don't think I know either. I feel like I know people are playing around with it and trying
Yeah,
it, but I think it's generally the same thing. There's no tool yet that's perfect. You spend half your time cleaning up what it has done and then
yeah,
go
yeah,
back to whatever the
yeah,
old school way of doing things.
yeah.
Okay.
But you have to start somewhere, right? So
Yeah.
obviously you can't start at the end. So by people using it, they're obviously improving and learning. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely excited to see where this is gonna go.
Yeah, yeah, I think me too. I think also what's interesting about it is that it's opened up the door to building things to people that are not from a technical background.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So that is, I think, half the reason why there's so much excitement also around it. And plus, I'm
yeah.
curious to see as well. Okay, so again, I mean, this brings me to one of the sort of like again part of my make your own opportunity part. You have answered this already, kind of a little bit, but I still want to know if you had to give like, I mean, if you had just one thing that you would tell someone with a dream or an idea to do, what would you tell them to do?
I mean, try it out. Speaking with people is not enough, and especially when somebody once told me when I was younger, my very first job, um, they were tired. This person was tired of talking about things he wanted to do, and then stopped doing that. Right? So he was like, I only talk about things that I've done, not things that I want to do, because everyone was kind of like, no, don't do it, nah, but it's a bad idea. People kind of somehow we are become very pessimistic when we hear this kind of ideas. I don't know why. So I would just say try it out. Don't get the unmotivated, dismotivated. I don't know which is the right word, but fight for your passion, right? Try something out. Try to reduce it. It's also, you can be very creative about how you can kind of convey a complex idea into a very simple prototype or test that you can use to somehow get some data points about its feasibility, its viability, and if it's like a willingness to pay for it. And the closer you get to that, then yeah, the higher the probability of you having something interesting that you can kind of actually convert into a company and a real product, right?
Yeah. So then, when you had the idea for Glaze, so first of all, did you try other things and fail before you hit upon Glaze, or were you just lucky that your first try turned out to be great?
It's a good question. I remember I had a really nice conversation with my brother when I was telling him that we were considering or thinking about starting up a company. And I was like, Bosco is my brother's name, Bosco. I don't know. I've never funded anything. I don't really know if this is for me. And he was like, no, Asis. You maybe you haven't founded a company, but you've been doing things since you're a teenager, right? And he was very right. I mean, I published a magazine. I've organized a lot of events. I've done a lot of things that maybe are not considered like a startup in that sense, but I definitely had a lot of experience of doing things and organizing things. And I can see that has helped me a lot. In many ways, also not getting too entangled. That kind of, I think Philip and I, we have a really great culture of respecting our personal lives. So we see this as a long-term race, right? This is like an endurance thing. It's not like a short-term thing. So it's really important to keep your mental health well and prioritizing your loved ones and yourself as well high. So yeah, I think I went a little bit outside of the main question, but yeah, I'm not sure that replies your question, Mela. Sorry. Forgot
No,
what your question
that
was.
actually did answer my question. Essentially, just as try things. Like if you have an idea, just try it. What's the worst that can happen, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and so what are your plans for Glaze now? I mean, for the next, I don't know, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? We're talking about
Oh,
endurance, so yeah.
ooh. I mean, we're in a very interesting moment. I do really think there's, and I was reading, I think Lenny published an article about this, that there is this kind of unexpected growth suddenly that many companies, even he experienced with this podcast, right, on his subscriptions. So we seem to be in this moment where we're getting a lot of traction and a lot of attention. We're running more demos and we're getting more inbounds than ever, which is really good. So we're converting a lot of clients now, and it looks like there is this light at the tunnel that is kind of like the PMF tunnel. I mean, no one really knows how to describe PMF, right? Some people say like, oh, you already have PMF. Other people are like, oh yeah, you don't have PMF. But we are in a very interesting position, and I guess by the end of the year we will know how much we've grown and if we can start increasing the team and hiring more people based on the sales. And we have a lot of ideas, right? But yeah, this is all kind of speculative. I think it's nice to have ideas, but in the end, we are living here today. We don't know what technology is going to do in the next couple of years, so you need to have the flexibility also to kind of navigate if the wind changes in that sense. But yeah, I mean, we're very excited, particularly with the analytics field. We definitely want to kind of democratize access to data. And we do see designers, there's this tendency of designers taking more ownership and being more data savvy. So they really want to understand how the user interfaces are being used by users, what a change on design here is impacting on user behavior.
Exactly.
And we
Yes.
kind of want to join them in this journey and become the first analytics tool for designers. That's kind of where our vision is heading to.
No, I love it. And I do remember it was definitely the kind of tool a designer would like to use. It was intuitive and clear and pretty. And I'm going to say that's important. Yeah.
Thank you, Mila.
Yeah, okay. Well, Asis, I have to say thank you so much. You have shared in such a short time so much incredible information. And you have attributed a lot of it to luck and privilege. But I have to say, what I saw was a lot of passion, creativity, and risk taking. Um,
Thank you,
so
Mila.
yeah, I mean, I'm really happy that we spoke. I'm also enjoying to see Glazed's journey. I'm curious to see what the next few years are going to be like. And yeah, thank you so much for your time. And when you reach the stage you're hiring, please reach out to us. We have a really cool community that we would love to share this opportunity with.
I hope so.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man. It's been great to chat with you.
Likewise.